I was not present for this meeting, however, in item number 2, I'm depicted as having made a motion.
Ooh, and I proved it.
That's skill.
I may have been thinking about it.
No, you're right.
Remote motion doesn't count.
See, you know what, I wasn't at this meeting, so I didn't write notes, so. I will check the tape and I'll fix that.
Okay, thank
I
you.
believe it was Hal who made that motion. Since neither you nor Tim were here.
Not touching that.
I move that we approve the minutes for the August 15, 2017 minutes with the corrections suggested by Dave.
I will second that.
Made by Mike, seconded by Dave. Is there any further discussion on this? All those in favor? Aye.
I will abstain, having not been here.
So, Matt, it shows that you have a couple of things on the town administrator's report.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, as members of the board are aware, an outfit called in itself ISO, which is short for Insurance Services Office, regularly, about every 2 years, rates the risk in the built asset base of every city and town in the region, and passes that information along or makes it available to the major insurance carriers for purposes of establishing fire insurance rates. And this letter from ISO this year is a pretty big win for the Douglas Fire Department because their rating jumped significantly. They're all the way up to a 4.4, which is about as good as you can get in a community that does not have 100% public water service for fire suppression. So this is a real significant jump. It is a reflection of the community's investment in the necessary assets of the fire department, so most specifically the pumper and the ladder truck. And as we go forward, additional points can be gained from training, especially in maintaining that equipment up to necessary standards. The majority of your rating is driven by the availability of water, so every single new extension of water over time will gradually improve your ISO rating. But taxpayers sometimes don't feel like they make these investments and anything comes back to them if they don't actually have a fire in their home or other need for the fire department. That's not true. The better your protection is, your rates will go down or stay low for a longer period of time because you have the necessary protection. So this is a big win for Chief Vincent and his group, and it's something for the town to celebrate because I don't really see these numbers move very quickly because they're talking about an asset base that may have been in place for decades, but it's because of the improvements you made in your fire department, going to 24/7 service, all of those things helped a great deal.
Invest in your community and it pays back.
Yes. The second item is just a fun thing. The Massachusetts Municipal Association has a contest every year for youngsters in school, and the contest is for 8th graders and for 3rd graders. The 8th graders write an essay, the 3rd graders write a poster. So we signed them up. There's 90 communities across the Commonwealth are participating in the contest. The essay topic is to choose one political or community issue that impacts young people in your city or town, and if you were the chief municipal officer, how would you bring positive change to the issue? So that's a pretty good thought question for 13-year-olds. And the 3rd graders need to depict a poster that demonstrates that local government is safe, clean, fun, helpful, and smart. Let's hope we get all 5 posters from your kids. But the materials will supposedly have been distributed to all the school systems and hopefully from the school systems into the classrooms, and the kids can sign up and participate. There's a long list of instructions that I won't belabor, but just something for the kids to do to participate in the community.
Nice.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
That's all you have.
7:16.
Well, I suppose we can do any old business?
Well, I got something that can take up a few minutes. And pick my words carefully because I think I support everything that the school is doing. But curious as to the status of the Finance Committee, Selectmen, and School Committee joint meetings. to see if that's something we want to revisit. And I say that only because, recently the athletic fees were reduced to $225, and a host of new hires had happened on the heels of a budget where I think the words were, we're falling off a cliff and other dire straits. I made a vote on the budget last year based in large part due to what was coming out of the school. And then for us to be able to fund what we're funding now, there's a disconnect there. And I'm careful with my words because I wholeheartedly support what they're doing. I think it's great. But I think that dialogue needs to be considered again as helpful.
Well, I would say that if we did do it, I would do it cautiously. The tail end of the meetings that we'd had jointly with FinCom and the school committee turned into just beat up on the school committee and yell about BVT. And I'm happy to sit down, and I think that it does make help. It's helpful to relations between these boards that are all elected officials, and some are appointed with FinCom, in making sure that we are on the same page and sending the same message out to the community. So I would probably echo some of your concerns that are there. Considering we did vote to potentially close a library based off of financial woes. But I'd want to do it cautiously because I certainly don't want to sit in here, and I, for one, don't want to hear BVT brought up in discussion again. I think that we've absolutely beat that to the point where it's a beyond dead horse. Even to the point where our state senator and state rep said there's no wrongdoing from BVT. We need to kind of let that go. If we can have these joint meetings as constructive and open conversation and dialogue, where we're trying to get to the same place, I'm happy to have those joint meetings start back up. But if it's going to turn into what it was before, where it's certain members of other boards were relatively rude and disrespectful towards other members on other boards, and I don't think that's productive. So I'd probably want to say, let's meet with the chairs of these. I'll meet with FinCom and with the school committee and see if they're willing to entertain those discussions, and we make sure that we put timelines on it, pretty strict agenda, and very little leeway for off-topic conversation with it. That's my opinion.
It's a good opinion. I don't know how they did it. I mean, ultimately.
I'd like to know.
Right, so maybe just school representative comes, but, I don't know, I voted out of concern for what we were doing to the schools to, potentially stop a service that an awful lot of people rely on. And I won't be doing that again if the trend continues, which I think is great. But
Yeah,
there's a disconnect there somewhere. We were falling off a cliff, and now we're hiring people and cutting student fees, and we didn't do anything to the budget that was.
I think it might make more sense before we go full-blown joint meetings, is maybe we could have Jean and Courtney come into the next meeting and kind of sit down and have them explain a little bit as to how they got to the budget that they're at, to where they were hiring people, reducing fees, making sure everybody's cautious not to use the term they found money, because we know how that gets Jean relatively upset.
It might not be in. Is that fair?
No,
Are you
I'd like
interested
to
in
know,
that?
yeah, I'd like to know as well.
So there's an interest within the board, right, Dave?
I think it's a valid
To
question.
learn
Yeah,
that?
How we approach it is, maybe a separate part of the conversation.
All right. So,
I think it starts with Jean and Courtney and Kevin to come in and just kind of sit down and do a budget review with us, so maybe we can get a better understanding as to where it is.
I think that's a good starting
Yeah,
point.
just for us to know what changed.
Right.
Because you said if things are trending in that direction, but we have no idea if they're trending in any direction.
Right.
If it's a 1 year
right, it was a
stopgap
one-year
measure.
thing? Right.
Or not having enough information to make that determination, so I think we deserve some additional information.
I mean, let's look and see if it's something we can build upon. It's a little bit of a success, a little bit of a bright light here.
Yeah.
If there's something we can build upon, some things we can do, then let's do it,
Yeah.
if we can.
I just want to be clear, I think I support everything that's happening over there. That user fee was a big thing last budget cycle for me. And for that to go down, I thought was a nice little surprise.
No, I mean, I definitely agree that it's a step in the right direction, but in the essence of transparency to the community, I'd kind of like to understand if we're sitting here as the Board of Selectmen, as, you know, in essence, the funding agency to the school, and we're kind of caught off guard by it, I'd like to know why, or what changed, or at least be privy to it.
Well, I'm glad I brought it up. I'll point out it's 7:20.
Nice.
Have we finished old business?
Have we finished old business?
I'm not chairman, you do what you want.
Is there any new business? No? Okay, well, with that being said, I'm gonna go back to item number 2, which is the hearing for a one-day special beer and wine license for the Grill on Main.
In your packet is a application for the Grill on Main for a one-day beer and wine license in the parking lot, because they are a licensed establishment. The only way they can have a special license is if it's not in that already licensed area. So
Okay.
they can have it in the parking lot. I'm currently waiting for a plot plan or floor plan. And once I have that, I'll have the chief review it and make any recommendations for the plan. They have requested hours for serving from 1 to 6. I haven't received any feedback as to that being a bad time. She does have permission from the property owner. She is part property owner, and she has permission from the other property owner. She has liquor liability, tip certified servers, and I didn't mention this for Oktoberfest, but by law, we're not required to notify the abutters, but when it's a liquor license close to residential, I do as a courtesy notify the abutters, so the abutters have all been notified.
Okay.
So if you approve the license, again, this is your approval, and then we notify ABCC. I would ask that you would do it contingent upon getting the floor plan and then having the chief make any recommendations after that.
Okay.
Because it is coming up, it's September 30th.
Yeah, I would like both chiefs to take a look, considering it's an outdoor pig roast. Have the fire chief take a look as
Yep,
well.
yep.
Chief Foley was in tonight, and we were chatting with him, and he took me and Cuppy outside and showed us what he expected us to do. I don't know if you're familiar with the property, but you can come from the front, up a set of stairs into the grill.
Mhm.
You can also park in the parking lot, come up another set of stairs into the grill. So we're gonna use the caution tape and cut it off, so that the only place that they can come in is up the ramp, the
Okay.
handicap ramp. That's the only way in, the only way out. And I'm gonna have somebody also at the end of the parking lot, right at the sidewalk, monitor stuff, just so that we know that people aren't walking out there with beers in their hand or whatever.
Right.
And we're gonna actually rope off where it starts to slope down. That's gonna be all roped off from the ramp down.
Okay.
So the whole front is gonna be all open.
And just so you understand, you can't take alcohol from the bar
Right.
and bring it out. You have
Right.
to have everything set up outside.
That's
It's a
what Chief
completely
Foley said
separate
today.
thing,
Mhm.
Right.
He explained that today. He said if they want it, they can go in, but they can't bring it outside.
Exactly.
That's what he told
Right.
us, yep. I'm aware of that.
Okay. Is there anyone here, any of the abutters here, or? No? So-
You're not a butters?
All right. So is it, I'm assuming fundraiser or something, or just
No,
decided to do a pig roast?
Yeah. Then
Nice.
he wanted, she came up with it, my manager, and so let's try it. You know, if it works out well, we'll do it annually. If it doesn't, it doesn't, but
I'll
we'll
go down
try
and
it.
check that out.
Huh?
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
you,
a good
you may
idea.
get a few of us down there to
Exactly.
see just how it's going.
Yeah, great.
I don't have any concerns with, like I said, the only amendment I would put is I'd like both chiefs to take a
Right.
look.
Yeah.
Just because it's outdoor cooking, so I'd like him to, I'd like.
And I already explained to the, Chief Foley where I thought we would put, like, I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a 3-bay garage, and it's all cement. We put the cooker there, and then further away to the right of that, there's a fence, and that's where we'd set all the tables, so nobody's even close to the cooker.
Okay,
Good.
Did you talk to Board of Health also about this?
No, not supposed to.
I would suggest you do, because
Okay.
it is food. I don't know if
Okay.
you need anything from
All
them.
right, I'll call.
But, yeah.
Sure.
I think
Absolutely.
my only question would be, you'll have trash receptacles outside, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
don't see any objection to it. Anybody feel like making a
So I'll
motion?
make a motion that we approve the one-day liquor license,
I'll second.
pending comments from the two chiefs.
I'll second.
And
And a
a
site plan.
completed floor plan, is that what you called it?
Yeah, I'm calling it that. Yeah,
I'll
because he said he'll
second.
have it done the next day or two, and I'll just drop it off.
Are you gonna
to
second?
I think I'm gonna second.
You're gonna second that? It was,
Second
You
and
have
then-
I
to.
have
wrote it
quite a
down.
while.
it was made by Mike and multiple times seconded by Dave.
I'm also here this time, so.
And he is in attendance, so he's allowed to
Okay.
second
Right,
that.
yeah.
Is there any further discussion on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck with it.
Hope it
Thank
works
you.
out.
I hope it works out well, too.
Okay. So now we're going back to the proposed bylaw change on door-to-door solicitation.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna let this is Ed Rogers, speak for himself, and then I'll sum up the administration's research into the issue
Sure.
after it's finished.
Yeah, so anyway, you know, I lived in Douglas for almost 20 years. The first house I had for 10 years was far away from other properties, so I didn't get too much solicitation. Once in a blue moon. Now I live over in a ranch on Eagle Drive where everything's close together. And over the past few years, the solicitation has gone up because of two things, the solar companies and the electric competition. And they tend to come out in the evenings. Now, back in March of this year, somebody came to the house. It was at 6:30 p.m. It was pitch black out. My house was warm because the ranches sometimes get warm, so I had the front door open. The screen door was closed and locked. My wife was in the living room, and I heard a loud noise, and I heard her make a noise, and I came up running out there, and it was a solicitor at the door. He came up and started rapping on the storm door. He didn't have a light with him or anything. Like I said, it was pitch black out. She said they were not interested in slammed the door on him. I immediately called the police department to report it. They had other reports. They said there are solicitors in the area. The dispatcher told me they're not allowed to go door to door after dark. We'll send a car. Now, I don't know if there's really a law like that in town. I couldn't find anything like that. Maybe it's just like a guideline. But I went over and I watched the guy. He went across the street to another house. Then he met up with the girl, and she had her cell phone. She was using the light from her cell phone, and they went to another house. Never saw a police car come. I don't think anybody was sent. They went to 3 houses, and then they started walking down the street. Like I said, it was 6:30, but it was pitch black out because it was March. I contacted the previous town administrator because I went online and said, is there anything to be done about this? Because I'm sick and tired of people coming to my door all the time. Some of them will ring the bell and leave. Some of them will ring the bell, and if you don't answer, they'll knock. I've had ones ring the bell, ring it again, knock again, leave, and then a half hour later come back and start ringing and knocking again because they see the cars there and they know somebody's home. So I put up a no solicitation sign. I made up a sign, no solicitation, no politics, no sales. I spelled everything out, no this, no that, no that whole list there. It's right in front of you when you come up the stairs. You know, so that I re-emailed the previous town administrator because he said he was gonna talk to the chief and look into it. He emailed me back that he did talk to the chief and he would get back to me, and then I got a paper in the mail saying that he was leaving, so I was like, I'm probably not gonna hear from him again, and I didn't, you know? So I let it go. I had the one sign up there, and then last month, at 8 p.m., I have a son with autism. I'm a full-time stay-at-home dad. I get him ready for bed, and I hear my doorbell ringing. It's almost dark. It's like now, you know, it's not quite totally dark out. I look out the side window, and there's a guy on my doorstep with a clipboard. I have the sign. It's visible. You know, he comes up. He rings the bell. I don't ever answer the door when people come. I don't want to talk to them. I know what they're there for. You know, he starts rapping on the door. And then he leaves, and that's when I emailed you. Is it Mr. Wojcik? Is that how it is, Wojcik? And I inquired again about it, and I had done some research, and I found Bellingham had, you know, a bylaw, and they have a no solicitation list that town people can put their name on. The people that are going to go door to door have to register. They get a permit. They have to pay a fee, and they're given the list. You cannot go to these houses. If you go to the houses, you're subject to a fine. You know, and your permit can be pulled. And Mr. Wojcik also sent me another one. I guess Franklin has a different way of doing it. There, they have if you post a sign that says no solicitation and you go on, and the people go on the property, they can be fined by the police. That's in theirs. Maybe they don't want to deal with the list, you know, having to keep a list at the town or something like that. I don't really care either way. If it was, I have a sign already. Actually, I made a second sign. I had the first sign, which didn't seem to be working for some reason. So now I have another sign that I Velcro over my doorbell. So at 5 p.m., I cover my doorbell, so they actually would have to lift the sign up to ring the bell now in order to bother me. I just think it's, you know, it's the fact that they're coming out that late and they're knocking on doors and they're trying to get you to change electric companies. And then if you, you know, I think 2 weeks ago, I saw a guy coming up to my door again, I was mowing my lawn, and I said, what do you want? He says, electric company, blah, 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 blah. And I said, this town has an aggregate. Everybody's already in an electric company to save money, and they can opt out and go back, you know. Oh, he said, oh, I didn't know the town was in an aggregate. But I said, I'm not interested, you know, and he left right away. But like I said, it's, you know, it's dark. The people that came in March, that couple, there's a Facebook page called We Are Dynamic Douglas, my wife belongs to it. I happened to look on it, and you should have seen all the people complaining about these two that were soliciting. You know, one guy, they came right into my garage, I was working in there, I turned around, they're standing right behind me. Another person, they asked for a drink of water. Another person, they asked to use my bathroom, you know what I mean? I don't like the fact that these people can just go right up to your house with no restrictions, no, you know, no requirements, and just bother you with all hours. And, you know, so that's, I figured the town could do something, since other towns came up with ways to restrict it, that our town could do something similar to that. And like I said, because I live in a place where it's really close together, they love to go to places like that. I've had 2 solar companies come to my house an hour apart. My doorbell rings, it's Sun Solar, you know. An hour later, my doorbell rings, it's NRG Energy. And it's just nonstop, you know. So, I know that, I believe the police department contacted Bellingham, and they said that they like their bylaw, that it works, you know. That's the one with the list, you know, that do not solicit registry. So, you know, I was hoping something could be done, you know, in that respect, to kind of keep those solicitations down to a minimum.
So, Mr. Chairman, I asked the lieutenant to look into this further, and I did some of my own research, and he took the time to write a nice brief memo, so I want to read a couple of the phrases that he used in here, and because they're important to the decision-making process. And the question presented to you this evening is really to provide guidance to the administration. Do you want this to be prepared for Springtown meeting as a presentation the board will make, or would you want the petitioner to go off on his own and do it, you know, without the official drive of the board? But the lieutenant writes, on a consistent basis, the Douglas Police Department receives complaints from residents regarding door-to-door solicitors. I've spoken to several residents in the past regarding their concerns and complaints about people conducting door-to-door sales throughout the town with little or no oversight. Then he goes on to say, Lieutenant goes on to review Bellingham's door-to-door solicitation bylaw already in effect in that town. That bylaw puts forth clear regulations that all potential solicitors would have to abide by prior to conducting business within the town. So the important little nuggets there is that this is a consistent problem in town. It's a rural community. People move here to be private. And if they choose to have a no solicitation sign on their property, it should be honored. You can't pass a bylaw in this country that prevents anybody from ever soliciting or conducting, you know, carte blanche, preventing certain business operations. And it's difficult with political speech or religious speech.
Oh, yeah.
But you can enact reasonable regulation. And when an individual has chosen to opt out, the same way we do with our cell phones, we don't want the constant barrage of phone calls, we should enjoy the same privacy in our home. So certainly the administration, after doing research into Bellingham and Franklin and talking to Mr. Rogers, but most of all looking into the past, feels like if the board decided to support this, that the data is there to support that position. And we can do further research. We're really not going to write a whole lot. We're not going to reinvent the wheel here. Bellingham's bylaw has already been vetted through council and through town meeting and has not been challenged in court. Then it is probably a solid piece of legislation that the town could support if they choose to.
I mean, it makes sense to do something, I guess, if we don't have anything that's on the books. I know.
I just didn't realize it was a problem to that extent.
Yeah, I mean,
I hadn't heard any complaints, and I personally haven't experienced what you've experienced. but-
Yeah, I think it's like I said, I think it's in the houses that are closer together, that's what they target, because they're not gonna wanna walk from a colonial
They're not
300
gonna-
feet to the next colonial and do it. In a place like Eagle Drive, where I live, or any other developments where the houses are close together, that's where they're gonna go, and that's why I get so many of them there.
I call them the trick-or-treating neighborhoods,
Yeah,
because
I
that's
get-
where my
I get
kids
over
always
100
want to
kids.
go.
I get over 100 kids every Halloween, you know?
Yeah, I don't get any.
And the after dark thing, I know the Bellingham one had like the stipulation of between 9 and 7 PM. The Franklin one said between 9 and 7 or 30 minutes before sunset, whatever is earlier, which I like better because I don't like people coming in the dark. I don't open my door after dark, and I don't think people should be going door to door after dark.
Sounds more like it's an anti-nuisance thing that we should be doing anyway.
I think so. I think it's something, I've Not to the extent you have, but I've suffered a little bit of it too. I have my property posted and they go right past it.
Oh, yeah.
I live in, more rural area than Eagle Drive, and I have a long driveway, I'm set back, and they drive right down the driveway, right to the house, right past the side, so, it is an issue, and I think it's something that we could take up.
Yeah, it makes sense.
How does Bellingham enforce the no solicitation register?
Well, that's where I wish I had the lieutenant here, but I didn't get the impression from my secondhand conversation through the lieutenant that they've had any enforcement issues at all. Because up front, they have a registry. You gotta come in and get a license. You gotta tell the town that you're gonna be in the town and post your fee to get the license. And that tends to weed out the people who are here just to make numbers.
Right.
They enforce it pretty well, Mike. Comcast actually does some of the door-to-door solicitation for residential in Bellingham, and we've been dinged a couple of times because our reps were a little later than what they were allowed to be.
So if you were on the no solicitation registry and somebody were to come to your door, you'd report that violation to
The police.
the police, and they would enforce it.
Yes.
They could cite the company or the organization.
Are there specific fines attached in the billing?
There are.
Yeah, there are. I think it's a couple $100.
Not to exceed $100, I
Right,
think.
$100. Franklin was.
Franco was 200, I
200.
think.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the print was so small, that I might have missed it.
I think we only have Bellingham's here.
Yeah, you do.
You're getting advanced in
It's
years,
100.
Mike, so.
Yep.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I would make one minor change to the language, uses the term in the definitions, politicians campaigning, as someone who went around and banged on doors when he was campaigning for office, unsuccessfully as it turned out. I would just change that to persons campaigning for office.
I think I tried to sick my dog on
He probably did.
you. So do we have a motion to,
Do we need a motion or just a consensus that we should work on this, or?
Yeah, I think it's something that we should explore and work on. I'd love to hear from the lieutenant, though.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we'll get going, preparing the necessary for the spring, and we'll have the lieutenant come back under old business, I guess, when he's here for something else.
Okay.
Come.
Okay.
All right,
With that?
very good.
Thank you.
for your time.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. So that covers all the regular agenda. So I would be looking for one of the Tim Bonin special motions.
We're there now?
We're there now.
All right. well,
Do you have any business, or?
You're just what?
Wanted to make sure before we,
Just here for observation.
I hope it's been entertaining,
Probably
or at
not,
least
but-
informative.
Informative, sure.
Well, this will be entertaining.
yes.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I wonder if you would accept a motion to enter into executive session for the purposes of discussing personnel, then to leave executive session for the purposes of adjournment.
So moved.
I will second.
Made by,
Tim?
made by Tim.
Oh, it wasn't made by.
It was
Tim.
I think
actually.
it was made by
so
Mr.
moved
Hughes.
by you.
Yeah.
So
It was made by Mr.
proposed
Hughes.
by Tim, made by Mike, and seconded by Dave. So, how you like
I'm here.
that?
I'm here.
So we need a roll call vote.
Mike Hughes, aye.
Tim Bonin, aye.
Kevin Morris, aye.
Dave Cortez, aye.
Sure.